when you know you're good, not just arrogance or cockiness good, but you have studied, you have done all the things. I think that emotional intelligence even plays a bigger role. Cars, cell phones, some of the smartest technology that we use on this earth regulates itself. And when
Mhm.
it doesn't regulate itself, some warning sign comes on, it shuts down. So just think of yourself as the most respected technology that you have. This life I have been given to serve on this earth, if I let these other people and things become distractions, I will never get to fulfill the thing that I was put here to do.
Mhm.
And so I have to be very protective of the treasure and the value that God put in me, and spending time doing anything else with people who don't deserve it. You don't get it.
Turn this up, turn this up.
Your professional development is one of the keys to your career success. When you combine your desire to grow with actionable steps, your journey to success becomes an incredible reality.
Hi, I'm Paul Faronbi, aka IncrediPaul, and welcome to IncrediPaul Leadership, where we learn how to become the most incredible versions of ourselves by learning from each other. First off, if you're only listening to this episode, I want you to know you could also watch it on YouTube. Regardless if you're listening or watching this show, really appreciate your support. Today, I have the honor of having Lori Holt on the show. So she is not new to the show. This is more in a co-host capacity, trying something a little bit newer. But if you don't know who Lori is, first off, where have you been? But you can go back and check episode 99 that I interviewed her. But for those who haven't got to know the incredible Lori, can you give just a brief intro into yourself and what you do?
Well, first of all, I didn't know I was episode 99 per se, but I got 99 problems, but I ain't your problem. I ain't your problem. I'm here for all of it. So thank you, Paul. Thank you for allowing me to be in this space and in community with you again. I feel like I get smarter just because I get to spend time with you. Lori Holt, founder of Novell and Associates, that is a house of brands. We have recently spun up the Thought Authority, some may see, teach, where we help individuals with their intellectual property become consistent and grow their communities on social media. We have then figured out, like, oh my God, this is then becoming a bigger thing. And so what we want to do is help those same individuals or more develop communities where they can monetize their genius and their influence and help individuals who are in need of their gifts have a platform to be able to interact and gain, kind of gain and grow in their respective areas. Yeah, so that's kind of the overarching news stuff. If you didn't know, go back and catch episode 99 where I'll talk more about strategy and strategic consultant, which is where this whole thing started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's really exciting things that you're doing. And then you have you had a whole career in leadership, whether it's the nonprofit corporate world as well. And this is IncrediPaul Leadership. So I wanted to talk about, at least we'll dive into some topics. I think just the way we kind of flow, some other things will come out of it. But kind of talk about a little bit more about emotional intelligence in leadership. What is that has meant to you, and maybe kind of your journey in it. We can kind of share.
Yeah, I think, I was just thinking about this the other day and watching all of the fallout from the current administration and the impact that it's having on Black and Brown talent. Some of the most educated, most certified in all the things, because we all know we had to be 100 times smarter, work 100 times harder to get half as much. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I think about the regulatory system around all of this, imagine anything you do, I don't care who it's with. You could be playing a sport, you could be playing some social game cards or whatever. When you know you're good, not just arrogance or cockiness good, but you have studied, you have done all the things. I think that emotional intelligence even plays a bigger role because you can get frustrated. It's almost like, I know I got this. Why are they treating me like this? And so I think over the course of my career, definitely coming out of undergraduate school, being a sponge, eager to learn, as my career grew, I was able to be placed on teams, you name the team, the Tiger team, the War team, whatever it was. So I was fortunate enough and blessed to be seen by a couple of executives that
Mhm.
allowed me to play on teams, work on teams where I got even higher exposure to other brilliant minds. And so just sometimes being in space with other people makes you smarter, or the challenge of the work makes you, I won't say smarter, but you enhance your skills by being in those spaces and having to work under sometimes difficult pressure or complex solutions, complex problems to get to solutions. And so
Absolutely.
I would say my career, taking undergraduate all the way up, my career has been less, probably the first 10 years of my career were vertical. Like I was an accountant, then I was a senior accountant, then I was a CFO. I did that, plant controller, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
And then once I kind of reached that space, what I realized is that I had more to offer to functional spaces who didn't have my skill set. And so I placed myself in places that made me feel uncomfortable. So, for example, I got into supply chain, but throughout that career, I had worked in IT, I worked in HR, I worked at, I just wanted to learn. And
Mm.
so imagine being in a room that you not only know what you were educated for in school, but you worked on projects that allowed you to kind of spread your wings a little bit, and you know just enough to maybe get something done faster than the next person.
Yeah.
But everybody wants to be seen, everybody wants the promotion, everybody wants to be heard, right? So I had to learn when and how to use my voice. And mastering that started with emotional intelligence. So, we all have this thing that when something is setting us off, kind of sending us someplace different, there's something that happens internally before it hits your head, before it comes out of your mouth. And so what I started
Mm.
to do was read more to understand more about emotional intelligence so that when my body started to feel a certain way, I didn't let it skip ahead of my mouth.
That part.
That was, I'm telling you. And so it was like, okay, Lori, okay, okay, okay. You're frustrated. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to have the answer. Let sometimes, where I got later in my career is give people enough rope to hang themselves, or give them a circus floor. The monkeys will perform.
The
You don't have to
monkeys will for.
stop anybody from being what they are. So just back up, give them
Mm.
the floor, and when it all settles, you can say the thing that you need to say. So I think it's more like self-regulation. And if for those who need an analogy or something to make it really make sense, because it's like, yeah, Lori, but so and so and so and so. If you think about it, cars, cell phones, some of the smartest technology that we use on this earth regulates itself. And when
Mhm.
it doesn't regulate itself, some warning sign comes on, it shuts down. So just think of yourself as the most respected technology that you have. Some people like electric cars. I'm an electric car girl. Some people like the fanciest, newest phones that come out because they do all the things.
Yeah.
All of those things have built-in regulators so that they can perform to their best ability. So just understand, although we are not machines and we are not robots and we have human-centered emotions, to succeed and I think catapult your career forward, you have to have awareness around where you are regulating and what those things are that send you left or right so that you can show up the way you need to show up when you need to show up.
That's a really good piece, and I love that analogy of the regulation, whether it's a car or phone or any of the technology. It's so true, but the between the regulation and the self-awareness, because I think it's funny because there's definitely people out there that are aware of what they are doing, but they just choose to do nothing. The
Absolutely.
so
And
it
even when you call it to their attention, they're like, "Yeah, you're right, you're right." Because I do some executive coaching now, and
Mhm.
then just coaching with emerging leaders as well. And I call them on it, like, walk me through it. Okay, now what happened? Now how were you feeling? I was mad. And it was like, yeah, okay, I know, and I hear that you're mad. Like I hear it, like I'm making you mad in the same scenario. But that's where we have to be conscious. That's where we have to heighten our awareness for ourselves, because you want to give, people are always watching and rendering an opinion. And so you got to be careful which narrative you giving them.
Yeah, the narrative is so important. And that's where it's one of those things that maybe it's the narrative you're giving is not beneficial to the situation. That you, as much as possible, you want to make sure the narrative is something that leans more positive, because that just helps you. Even if the person did have negative intentions, which some people do, if you give people the benefit of the doubt and then ask more questions, it'll help smooth things over as opposed to assuming like this person knew exactly what they're doing, they were ignoring me. All those, that narrative just does not help things. It just escalates things as opposed to getting things in a place that is can be resolved and move forward. Because when emotions are high, tensions are high, we make mistakes, we say things we don't mean later on because we were mad in the moment. And it's hard. You can't, it's like when you break an egg, like you can't ever put it back together once those things are said, once those things are done. So really being intentional about regulating your emotions. And it's as simple, it's not easy, but it's as simple as pausing for a few seconds before you say anything so that you allow your you get your, I don't know, your sympathetic or parasympathetic nervous system to regulate. Because I've read some books about it that in those first few seconds are the most crucial. And after that, you're able to control yourself. But a lot of times we react right away as opposed to taking a step to respond. Those first few seconds are the game changer.
Yeah, and I think one thing that I would pull a thread on in that is, and I just posted about this the other day, it's this whole notion, if you want to be understood, you have to seek to understand. And I know that sounds all philosophical, right? But, my husband and I have conversations on these lines all the time. And I am a person who I'm always trying to understand the mechanics. And he doesn't. He was like, I don't know. I don't know why they do what they do. But the reason I try so hard to do that is because I'll give you another example. I'm big. Anybody who's known me over the course of my career knows that I'm gonna give you an analogy.
I love your analogies.
Oh my
You
God.
dropped so many the first time. I was ready for more this time.
I'm getting ready to give you one. So imagine your favorite, I don't want to call it fast food, but convenience food. Starbucks, McDonald's, whatever your thing is that it's convenient. You go in, you get out quick, right? Or supposedly. And I always think about the person who's having a bad day. They can't see me. I'm behind a menu board and they're on a mic. And I always think about the person that you can tell in their tone, like something wasn't right today. Last night, this morning, whatever it was. Now I have things that are not appropriate to share that I make up in my head. Like, oh, okay, I know what happened to you this morning or last night. I get it. But whatever the underlying reason is, what I know that I didn't do that. It is the same when you're in work environments. You may have triggered, like I always say, I'm somebody's trigger. I know I triggered something in you that's unhealed trauma from whenever, whatever. I don't know. We all have it, right? All of us, no matter how good we are at a thing, have some type of unhealed trauma. And it doesn't always have to be family. Think about a car accident, your very first car accident. I bet you can remember, no matter how minor, how major it was, everybody remembers that first car accident. I was 16, turning left, trying to go into a Wendy's. And I told my mama I was going here and I was coming right back. Totaled her car. That was the only car my mama had. But I turned left and I still have angst today when I make a left-hand turn. I'm not afraid of it, but it evokes a feeling, an emotion, right? And so we all have to remember that we are all human beings who have had experiences and we are all hungry and fighting for the next thing. Whatever, a promotion, you want to be seen in a good way in your boss's eyes, whatever it is. And sometimes when somebody's doing that nudging and poking and prodding at you, it's really not you. You represent the thing that's in the middle of getting them from here to there. And so what I try to do is, I'm not a psychologist, nor would I ever claim that I am one, but it's like I try to reverse engineer. Like, what is he trying to get to? Like, what we trying to do? Because all this tone and in conjecture, dude, like I'm just trying to help you because I am a solver. If you know me at my core, I want to help to get to the end. Even if it's for a person, if it's for a thing, I am a problem solver by nature. And so what I have learned to do was be very mindful that there is typically an agenda behind somebody's request that leads to their frustration. It ain't about me. So I just kind of like, again, emotionally regulate because, okay, you mad at somebody, it ain't me, but I'm gonna help you get through this as long as you act right. I'm gonna try to help you act right so we can get to the end. But I think that's a lot of, it's in life is hard now. And I think like, oh my God, I remember when my mom used to say that, and God rest her soul, like I'm never gonna say that. But I just turned 54, and it is true. The more you live, the more you know and learn.
Mhm.
And I know that people are challenged by things that happen that they have not um, either chosen to address, or they didn't know it impacted them the way that it did, or they want to be seen in a certain way. And so they're fighting really hard for that. And so I just try to give people a little grace. Now, let me be clear, they can get it. If they keep coming, they can get it. But I
Mhm.
try to give them space. I try to give them space, 3 strikes. I'm gonna give you 3
Mhm.
times. And once you take me there, I'm gonna remind you of all the things that probably happened in your life that you're struggling with me. But I'm gonna give you grace first.
You're better than I am about the 3 strikes. I usually give people 2 or 1.5, depending on the situation and depending on what it is. And it's not necessarily that I'll cut them off or anything, but it's like 2 before I say something.
I,
Just understanding because like you said, we're humans, we have bad days, and sometimes you can tell that what you said versus their response is like, this has nothing to do with me at all. Like maybe someone a long time ago, something happened, or sometimes I can even tell with someone's just having a bad week. So perfect example, like will not name names to protect the innocent or the guilty. Like this week
yes,
was
yes.
was happening that there's a situation that happened, and by the time this episode comes out, it would have been like a couple months after anyway. But there was a situation that happened. This person has set up a meeting with someone like 8 a.m., which usually you don't want to set up meetings
Why? Why? Why
that
are we
that
doing that?
early. So that was coaching was involved with that later on. But the person came on time. The person set up the meeting, arrived 10 minutes late, didn't realize that they had set up an 8 a.m. meeting because they were like all of that. So
Like
I
who
was
does
caught
it? First of all,
in
who does that? Who does that?
yeah, I know. I was caught in the middle of both of them, trying to just smooth things out, and they're like venting to me, and I was just trying to calm things out. But then I was talking to the person that was freaking out over this, and they basically were saying like, as they were talking, they realized that they were overreacting to the
Yeah,
situation.
yeah.
And I kind of called them out on it too. And they're like, yeah, I just need a vacation. And I was like, and they're actually going on vacation this weekend. So I was like, perfect. And so we're able to smooth things out fairly quickly, but it was just in the moment, like all those things, having a stressful week. They're, they had something they had to present later that day, and they had to come in early for this, and that person didn't show up. So it's kind of what you were saying. It's the situations that we don't always know behind the scenes that are happening. So when you're able to give someone grace, that is a game changer.
Because you're gonna need it too. You're gonna need it too. So yeah, and and I know we want to move on, but your 1 to 2 times. Now I'm telling you, my 3, I'm telling you, like patient. But Imma give it to you on that third. I did it. Like I recently, I don't know, in the past month, I could just tell this woman was coming at me, coming at me, coming at me, and I was telling somebody like, I'm just letting you know this is not going. Please tell her it's not gonna fare well for her because I'm gonna take her all the way to birth. I'm gonna take her all the way back to the day she was born, and I'm a step her. And I did because she did it, and I did it. Most pleasant person now to me because I reminded her, like she wanted to say, Lori, you weren't this and the other. And I said, you know what? I don't judge, but let me tell you now, since we've opened the door, let me help you understand what I see in you. And it was just like, they weren't ready because they're so ready to attack. So I'm
Yeah.
like, you don't want this because I have a long memory and you don't want this.
So what the smoke? That's really funny. I think just kind of piggybacking on this, kind of adjacent to this, is this idea of boundaries. Because I think there's 2 kind of reasonings or schools of thought to this. The people who are on the people pleasing side that want to make sure everyone is happy all the time. They forget about themselves. and then people that are just everyone is wrong all the time. The world's out to get me.
Yeah.
There is a space in the middle where you have to understand your boundaries and the boundaries of others. And when people cross those boundaries, and that's something I've been more intentional about over the last couple of years and last year especially, is when you have the boundaries and people cross them, you're just checking them and letting them know that they've crossed a boundary. That's not being mean. That's not being rude. It's saying like, this is a boundary I had. You crossed it. Because I think that's something I know about myself is I'm a recovering people pleaser. So there have been times in the past where I've let people consistently cross boundaries, but I've been learning more that that's something that I allowed as opposed to I set the boundary, but then adhere to it. Because one thing to set it is another thing to actually adhere to it.
Yeah.
So I've been more intentional about, okay, when I'm setting those boundaries, it's usually with people aren't closer to me. With people I don't know as well, like those boundaries are very clear. It's like
Right.
those closer relationships that are get overstepped.
So what's your question? Because I got thoughts. Where
No,
you
I
want to
just
go?
want to hear your thoughts on it. There's not a
Um,
specific question. Yeah.
so I was raised by a people pleaser. My mom was a very, very, I mean, this is going to be morbid for a second, but it's a way to
Mm.
think about life. I knew who my mother was and how she showed up, but to listen to other people at her funeral, her memorial service, talk about her, like I felt like I felt like Jesus was my mother. Like I'm talking about turn cheek, turn cheek, turn cheek.
Wow.
Like that was my mom. Like she was gifted in the space of forgiveness and grace. And now she can get you right, but it was like she saw the best in the worst of people. And I love that about her. However, growing up was under that. I watched my mom hurt a lot. So she was very forward facing, very giving, but I didn't always see it, but I heard it. I could remember hearing her tears. I could remember her being sad about something or being on the phone and telling somebody. I could just, from a little girl, I can remember that. And so one might say that I grew up ready. Like I just, and it was almost like I was defending my mom through all these other experiences, right?
Mhm.
Or protecting the mom part in me, my mother's part in me, because I do have a very, very big heart and I am very loyal, like very loyal. And I don't need to micromanage people. I don't have to like, I just don't. Like, that might be some of my Gemini, characteristics too, because I'm kind of like a free spirit. I like to create. I like to go and do. I don't like to be harnessed. And if you give me that space, you will get like the very best version of me. And so I've always been very clear and bright lines around my boundaries from a very young age. And I think because I worked OUS immediately after college, I didn't have like I graduated 3 weeks later. So you think about that growing up as a child, and I had an older brother, right? He was 5 years older. And this brother, like, was the one who, like, mom worked late, mom and dad went out on a date, whatever. And he was like, go stand in the door frame. And I was like, what?
What?
He was like, put one arm, think about an X, like your feet are spread and your arms are spread. Then he would give me a pair of socks balled up and he would back up like down the hallway. He was like, throw the sock to me. And then he would like rush me like I was a football player. And he was like, and you better not tell mama. You better not tell mommy. And so you think about growing up like that. So I think part of my show up outside is because shit, my brother was driving me crazy. So he kind of taught me how to stand up for myself,
Okay.
as time went on. And he doesn't do
Yeah.
that to me anymore, thank God. But yeah, that I got a whole nother story. I tell two stories at the same time because it's in my thought. I need to say it. So the other
Yeah.
thing my brother did so that people understand the essence of Lori, he used to flip his bike upside down. So imagine it being on the handle and the seat and the wheels are up. And then again, mom and dad are gone. They going to do something. And he would take the bike wheel and spin it real fast. And I have a scar on my elbow where it burnt my elbow. Like, and that was
Well,
stuff he used to do to me all the time. So I think because of that, he's a wonderful man. He is not he is a wonderful man. But I think because of that, I was very like, "No, you won't treat me like this. No," because I couldn't do it to my brother, right?
Yeah.
And so as time went on, again, I think I've always been a very observant person. And so I'm always watching the room. I always watch how other people are treating other people.
Mm.
And I also believe that part of that, I stand up for people. I might say, leave Paul alone. I might not say, leave Paul alone, but I might angle it from a different direction. Like, you know what? I really don't like when people do A, B, C, D, E, F, G
Mm.
because I know his boundaries and I know he's not going to say anything or whatever. Right. But I don't, you should be more cognizant of that. Like, I am big on that, like big, 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 big on that. But the polar opposite of me is I watch and I observe. And if I don't like your show up, then I won't fool with you. So
Mm.
I won't even give you space, time, because and if I have to, if it's a work environment, I am very regulated with that. Like, you
Mm.
get to get this box of me, this part right here, and that is it. Like, you won't know about my child, you won't know about my husband. We're gonna keep it very.
Mhm.
You ask a question,
Okay,
you
yeah.
get the answer. I was an auditor before I did anything else. So you ask and you get. Like, how your
Okay.
kid fine. Like, I'm gonna cut it off and I'm gonna make sure that I don't remain in a space that puts anybody at risk,
Mhm.
them more so than me. So how I, kind of capstone to that is I know who I am. I'm very clear about whose I am.
Mm.
And with that being said, I won't give anyone space who doesn't deserve it. That is clear bound. And my friends have even called me like, Lori, you're so good with this. Like, you are so good about this. I'm very intentional about it because this life I have been given to serve on this earth, if I let these other people and things become distractions, I will never get to fulfill the thing that I was put here to do.
Mm.
And so I have to be very protective of the treasure and the value that God put in me, and spending time doing anything else with people who don't deserve it, you don't get it. And the older that I've gotten, boy, let me tell you, menopause will help you straighten up a whole bunch of things you kind of. But I will be very clear. I just have very bright lines, and I probably have done that since I was, in my early 20s, because that's when I left to
Mm.
live in Europe. And so I was on my own. Mommy wasn't around the corner. I had to figure it out. And so I had to walk as if I weren't a tourist. I had to show up very confident. And so then I had to learn how to make sure that all those things lined up by living what I was portraying. And then I practiced it and I got good at it. And so I'm very, very protective of my peace, and I am okay not doing the things that break my peace.
That's really good. A lot of people aren't there. I can relate to that about not doing things that either distract you from your peace or add stress to your life. And I think I'm better about it even now to sense even if there's an inkling that if I, for me right now, like if it's not something that's like a hell yes, it's like a no for me.
I
Cause
love that.
I'm just at the point where it's like, I only have so much time. I want to make sure I'm focused on the things that I want to be doing, the things
Absolutely.
that I'm passionate about doing. And if I'm not sure about it, like I'm the type of person, I'm definitely more introvert leaning. I'm an ambivert, so I'm in the middle. So I can have a great time by myself, reading a book or just being at home. So if it comes down to it, like I was just like, I don't really want to go to this event. And there's been some of those boundaries have come up, like because I'm in Nashville now. I've been here coming up on 2 years. So
Wow.
at the beginning, I was definitely more extroverted, just to meet a bunch of people, going out more often. But just came to a point, I was like, okay, I've met the people. I know who I want to spend more time with. Others I don't want to spend more time with. So there just came a time like people asked me, do you want to do something? And they're like, no. And they're like, why? I was like, I just don't want to. I was like, I don't really have to have a reason why.
Right. And you get better with that over time. You
Yeah.
can. I mean,
Yeah.
trust me, everybody's working on the things they want to do. And here's the funny thing. I think the other reason I have worked really hard to get better at this is because I have a daughter. I
Mm.
didn't have her until I was 36. And so I she has made me a better woman because the things I said, I would see and I would be teaching it to her, and to teach it to her meant I had to live it. And so, you think about, those who have daughters or women or men who are observant of women who work through these things, but like the mean girl syndrome and people trying to treat you funny. And I will watch her be upset and cry because she has my mother's heart. And I'm like, girl, look, you ain't gotta go nowhere you don't wanna go. You don't have to be with nobody you don't wanna
Right.
be with. And she has learned over time, like, be observant of how it makes you feel when you're in the spaces that you don't wanna be. That
Mhm.
should be all the indication in the world that you don't need to do it. And so I
Mhm.
think I've had to teach it. I always say anything that you don't think you do well, teach it. And when you teach it, you get better at it because you have to think about why you're answering, why you're giving this,
Mm.
all the things. And so she's been a tremendous gift to me because I tell her all the time. And of course, she's 18. She doesn't get it yet. And I'm like, you've made me a better woman. And she has she makes me love harder, love deeper, but she makes me really think about all the things that I'm doing and who I'm doing it with because I'm watching her go through it and I'm trying to teach her how to have those boundaries for herself.
That's really powerful. Like what your daughter has done for you, and really in a positive way with teaching that. I could see for me, without going too deep into it, like because I ended a relationship that I was in, was married at the time, and there's on the flip side, there's a lot of things I was doing, compromising and doing things that I didn't want to kind of appease her as opposed to doing even like it was really weird because this comes down to like the boundaries thing. Like I was really great at boundaries with pretty much everyone in my life except when it came to her, and it was like something that kind of etched away slowly. I didn't realize what was happening until it was like
Too late.
Hosan. I was like, I don't even really recognize myself. This is not me. And
Yeah.
I don't have these clear boundaries. And anytime I tried to express them, it was just not being received. So that was like the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
So I think whether it was like on the positive side or the negative side, I think to your point is those life experiences when they're evaluated, that's the power that happens. Because you can have, everyone has experiences, whether they're positive or negative, but not everyone evaluates them and uses them to become better.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Cool.
But yeah, I know we're going for a little while talking about emotional intelligence. I don't know, is there anything else you in this kind of realm of emotional intelligence you want to hit on?
No, it was a lot in those two questions that we kind of unpacked that could go off and be, lanes in of themselves. But no, nothing comes to mind right in this moment.
Yeah. Okay. Or I mean, I don't want to like prolong or belabor it, but I am curious because you talked about a lot of the stuff you're doing right now
Sure.
in more in the creative space. Like, because I know you've done a lot of things in the past, and I know you're more focused in this now. I guess what inspired you to jump into this space specifically?
Well, jump is relative.
Okay.
So I wasn't even planning this. So this is funny because I didn't even know you were going to ask this question.
I didn't know I was going to ask it either.
Well, here we are. So a lot of people look at me now and, I have a full sleeve. My nails are very colorful. My mom, if my mom wouldn't have been adamant for all the reasons that we know, right? Growing up, I was a 70s baby. Like, you're going to go to school, you're going to get a good degree, you're going to work at a good job, and God bless her because I had an incredible run of a corporate life and professional career. And I tell my husband all the time, he's like, babe, you could be anything you want. You could go be CEO of wherever. And I'm like, I could, but I also can be the CEO of my own thing.
Mm.
And so I worked, like I had a lot of experiences packed into my career, when I tapped out at 52-ish. But I was always a creative at heart. My sleeve was kind of like my get back because I lost my mom unexpectedly. So I'm like,
Mm.
okay, bet. I'm about to go get that tattoo. You wanted to leave me unexpectedly? I'm about to go get this tattoo. And literally, she
Wow.
passed in between April and October, full sleeve. Like
Wow.
appointment, appointment, appointment. Like I was like, so I always wanted a tattoo. Like, right.
Mhm.
I had naturally curly hair, but I always got it straightened. I might highlight here and there. I dipped in the door, cut it all off, wore some lines in my hair, later on in my life. But I say that my nails, like I love expressing my creativity through how I show up.
Mhm.
Corporate America harnesses that,
Yeah.
stifles. And I would say, like, if you traced my life, I was always trying to find an outlet to be creative. I'm a competitive bodybuilder. I was a certified nutritionist, all while I was working in corporate America as a executive officer. Like I owned a gym.
That's crazy.
I taught Zumba. Like, again, competitive
Yeah.
bodybuilder,
Yeah.
all the things, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think that I was always looking for a creative outlet. I was a dancer for 20 years, like the first part of my life.
Mhm.
I danced until I was probably 26. And so I think because I had climbed the ranks, it was like the more I climbed, the smaller I had to become.
That part. Wow.
And so my dream was always to retire at 55. Because after I had my daughter, I got clear about, like, I want to go do this because I wanted to live. I wanted to dream. I wanted to live my dreams out loud. Like I can remember what it felt like when I, was graduated and I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna live in Europe and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. And then I realized, like, people were watching all the other stuff that had nothing to do with my brain in the office. So it's almost like you're their agent. So that means I was losing myself. The dreams I used to have, I stopped dreaming those. I was just dreaming about work. And I wanted to get back to dreaming and living. And again, I think some of this, Paul, relates to watching my mom work so hard, raise her kids. She had a career. She was a professional at General Motors. She was an HR professional. And she got all the things, women, businesswoman of the year, this, that, and the other. I mean, I have all these articles and reading, things. Well, I mean, I experienced them, but looking back. And then she got sick and then she died. And I just didn't want that to be my story. And I want my daughter to understand, and I want people who know me to know what it means. And so I think I was very deliberate of watching these people who I respected, but I knew they were performing. Like these executives I had watched, like it is performative. Nobody can, and no one can tell me it is performative. And
Yes.
so, like what I explained, like to my husband, we had this conversation. I'm like, yeah, I could do a whole bunch of things, but I don't want to perform anymore. I want to live my dreams the way that I want to live them out loud. And so, this creative part, to answer your question that you see in me, is I want to wake up the genius in people. So when Novell and Associates started it, I wanted to help people that look like us. I mean, I would help whatever, but help them be great, right? So I know oftentimes CEOs, executive directors have an alliance to the board. That's who they report to, but it's a fine line you walk, right? You need to do what they say, but
Mhm.
it depends on what kind of board you have. Let's rewind that. It depends on what kind of board. You could have a board that supports their CEO and their principal officers to achieve the strategic vision of the business. And then you have people who are sitting in those seats who work to have their own agenda, and other people are working it for their benefit. I've watched it. I
Mhm.
experienced it. And so it's almost like if I can work with individuals just to help them be free, help them think through a thing, be their thought partner, be their confidant in the spirit of achieving the vision of the organization. That's what I wanted to do. But then it kind of expanded where I began to understand people sometimes got challenged on how to implement the thing that they wanted to do. So I started helping with implementation. And then I realized at about the same time I met my chief creative savant, William Classic Jobs.
Shout out to
He
Classic.
did some marketing and some media for me.
Mhm.
And I just thought, like, God, you are brilliant. And I remember what he was charging me. And I was like, dude, you do not charge enough for this. Like this, I've never seen this, like what you do. And so what I then realized, I was talking to some of my clients after those jobs were done. And it was like, what are you doing with your strategy? Like, I've been watching you on social media. I haven't been seeing anything. They were like, yeah, we're doing this and the other. And I'm like, well, if you're going to be asking for money or you want somebody to buy your services, you got to show up. And so I brought my chief creative savant on to do some work for them. And then he was like, I just want to work for you. Like, I think we could do something. So that took us down this lane of the thought authority, helping people get clear about their strategy for themselves and then how to turn that into something. And so we started capturing media, talking about them and doing this kind of way that we talk about these businesses that still could trace back to either working on strategy or working on media. So it's kind of like we're this strategy and media organization company. And so after we did that, what I started to learn is people wanted to know how I built my business, how I left corporate America and to build my business. So now what is not in the market yet, but what you will see very soon, and definitely it will be by the time this airs, is this whole Build with Lori. I want to teach people how to have a vision, build operating systems that can not only operate their business, but how to scale their business. And I'm not only going to do that, I'm going to show you how to market yourself so you can tell the story in a way, in an infotainment kind of way. Because I think we think that the only way we can get access to media is to pay a whole bunch of money that as an individual, as a solopreneur, entrepreneur, sometimes you can't afford. But the key to your business scaling and expanding is to get the word out. And I think that I just don't want to rely on some of these typical social media ad spaces that are really monetizing you in the hopes that whatever they do, it works behind the algorithm to ensure that you get out there in front. So that's the kind of wraparound service. And we're having a lot of fun. We have some really amazing clients that we're working with that you'll begin to see some things come from. Misophonia Research Fund, MRF, the Till Institute. I'm really excited about that. We're getting ready to do some work with them, some podcasts, some Thought Authority brand work. And then another exciting project that's coming. Again, you'll hear and see more about that. It's just, so I didn't jump. I unlocked and allowed myself to start living my dreams. That's that I harnessed for so long so I could become a corporate executive that was stripping my whole life away. That's what it felt like.
You always drop bars. It's like you didn't jump, you unlocked. That that's powerful. That I know you said every time we talk, actually, I think it's mutual. Every time we talk, I feel like I get smarter talking with you. The
Absolutely.
analogies, the passion you bring, it is incredible. I'm super excited to see all
Thank
the
you.
stuff that's coming out with Nobel and Associates and what you continue to do to unlock the potentials with people and really share their visions with the world. Because a lot of people, they have a lot of stuff inside, but what you and Classic are doing to unlock that and especially with the media side of things, is really incredible.
Yeah, I will say this. I know without a shadow of a doubt that each individual who is listening, who will listen to this podcast, has a special gift that was placed inside of them. Like no two people have the same gift. And I think in the day of social media, all we have a tendency to do is chase, to replicate, to mirror what somebody has already done. But that's only because we've been put in a society, in a structure that doesn't want the brilliance. Our school systems are not structured to find brilliance in the kids. It's do this, take this test, do this thing, so you can turn into a worker. And if I don't do anything else, I at least want to trigger a thought that what is my special thing? What's the thing that I do that if I leaned into it, that I could gift it to the world? And if we all leveraged what was inside of us and we put it in the world, and that way somebody else had access to that brilliance. Just imagine what kind of world we could be. And that is really what I want to unlock. I just want people to see their brilliance and quit measuring themselves against what somebody else did or didn't do, who is walking the line of a construct that was not designed for us. I'm going to say that part again. We're operating in a construct that was not designed for us. If I can't do anything else but build an ecosystem for people's brilliance and genius, and I said this I can't remember where I was, but God should take away my heaven card. He really should. Like, if you don't give to the world what he gave to you, shame on you. because everybody could benefit. And I just think we could be in a much better place because the current will turn eventually. You just got to be persistent and stay at it. But, the way we operate is to keep us confused so we can only be this small and
Mhm.
only the big people can be big. And I want all the people to be big, especially people who look like me. I want them to be big.
That's
So,
really powerful. And all the stuff you're talking about is really, it comes back. I didn't mean to do it this way, but it really comes back to emotional intelligence, really understanding yourself, who you are, unlocking that potential, that self-awareness. The self-regulation we talked ad nauseum on. I think that's important, but it really comes down to knowing yourself first and what are the things, and you're helping to unlock that for people and share that vision, their God-given talents. Because
mhm.
and I think I said it before, but what people don't realize about a talent or a gift really is that doesn't mean that you don't have to work hard at it. If anything, that means you have to work harder at it. The difference is when you have a gift or a talent, you're going to multiply so much more when you pour into it as opposed to someone else. So really
and
honing in. Yeah.
and you don't have to force yourself into rooms. That's that whole making room at a table versus building your own table. That is really what that's about. When
Mhm.
you are trying to force yourself into, this just came to me. Lord Jesus, this just came to me. What I know to be true is our lives should really flow like a river. There are going to be rocks that the water has to split and go around and keep going. It might even pile up for a second when you think of like a tree that falls in a branch and the water kind of backs up until it can figure its way around. But it should not feel like you're walking up a mountain and snowballs are coming at you and kind of beating you in your head on the way. That's not the way it should feel. So to piggyback on that fine point that you made, love, profession, it should not be hard, painful. It might be hard. It won't be painful.
Should be
It
pain.
won't feel like you're just spinning your wheels in the same spot. I just
Mhm.
call it all redirection to get you closer to the space that you're supposed to be operating in. And those who are meant for you will come to you when you're operating in your gift. You won't have to compete because only the things that are meant for you will be coming towards you when they're supposed to come to you. That's what I have learned living on the other side, meaning a corporate professional, and living on this free side, free thinking side,
Yeah.
free
Yeah.
being side,
Yeah.
is that I don't have to fight for what naturally is mine and what it was gifted to me. And
That's,
again, this comes from somebody who had a very successful career, like
yeah.
extremely successful career. And it's just I got tired of fighting. Like I don't want to fight with people. Like if you need to be important and you need to have your voice heard, if this is your only space to shine, let me give you all the platform to do
Here
all
you
that you need
go.
to do. Here you go. Cause I'm going to be it regardless because I know myself. And so I'm going to give you all the space on the circus floor to perform like a monkey because that's what you need. That is truly how I feel. Like, I don't care. I don't care anymore. I don't care. And it is the best feeling. It's different, right? Like I remember, let me give you some truth real quick. Like I remember leaving corporate America and the stock options, the restricted shares, the big bonus. I remember that and getting that check every single, like I didn't have to blink. And then I
Mm.
remember like, God, okay, am I going to file bankruptcy? Like, what am I going to do? I'm going to be an Uber driver. I used to tell my husband that all the time, like, because we were married, then I decided to exit. And I used to say, like, babe, I think I'm going to be an Uber driver. He was like, no, you're not. I was like, okay, I'm going to work at Starbucks. I could be a barista because the best job is somebody being elated at 2:00 in the afternoon when you pass that hot cup of coffee through the window and they don't even leave the drive through. They take a sip. That's what they do. And I was like, that's the job. Like, I just want to make people happy. I just want people
Uh-huh.
to be happy. And so those are all my funny stories that run around in my head
Love it.
for what it's worth.
Oh, that's good. I feel like we could go on and on, but
Always.
yeah, for sure. I'd rather just have to have you back again. But I think that I love the conversation. Like we
Me
really
too.
go deep into emotional intelligence, like even into your story with Novell and Associates as well. Definitely did not plan it, but they go hand in hand pretty well. So I think that's good.
Yes, they do. And thank you for allowing me to share. I think, I've been pretty quiet from, I was in a role that I was out in front all the time. So I was
Mhm.
always sharing because I was always being captured.
Mhm.
And then it was kind of like I just went off the grid, but I really, trust me, I've been really creative and grinding it out and figuring out what it should look like so that when it was presented, it was right. And this is right. This is right. And so I just appreciate you for seeing me and allowing me to have the space
Absolutely.
because, again, I'm not doing cartwheels across the stage right now. And it's a very different life than what I lived. But this is what I'm doing right now is food for my soul. Like it is the most peaceful, most creative, most satisfying work that I've done in a very long time. And so thank you. Thank you for allowing me to have space to do this.
Absolutely. You're welcome. Thank you for making the time and sharing your wisdom with the audience and really turning to the audience. I'm going to plug episode 99 again. Go back, check that episode. If you like,
And I'm gonna do Jay-Z underneath it just so they know 99 Problems ain't me. Like,
yes, it's not.
I'm gonna lay the track right underneath it. So
It's really funny about that because you got like the ball cap on too. So it's like, it's funny, but definitely check that out. But tap into Nobel and Associates. It's all about this podcast, is all about being the most incredible versions of yourselves. I know this is a little bit deeper, like we dove deeper into emotional intelligence, and I'm trying something new. So if you want like specific topics you want to see more of, whether it's me and Lori talking about it or myself or anyone else, just let me know more about it. But for everyone listening, just make sure you take a breath, whether that's self-regulating, learn more about yourself, ask those questions, and you too can be incredible.
Be sure to rate and review this podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform. We'll see you here next time. And be incredible. Incredible.